We've looked at those attributes of quadrilaterals the last couple of days, and today we're going to look at really being able to, in great detail, name them based specifically what they are, what kind of quadrilateral, based on those attributes we've been discussing, okay? So our goal today, let's see. Clay, can you read our goal for me?
Our goal today is to name specific quadrilaterals based on the attributes we have discussed in our previous 2 lessons.
Thank you. So we're going to name those quadrilaterals using those attributes we've talked about the last couple of days. All right. So let's do a quick review here. And if you remember, what are some of those attributes or the ways we organize and identify quadrilaterals? Can you guys remember any of them? It could be sides or angles or anything like that. I'm going to make a little list and write them down. What are some of the ways we classify or organize those? Marvin, what's one thing we use?
The way that they're shaped in the sides.
Yeah, but when we say the way that they're shaped, what do we mean by that? Like, what special attributes are we talking about there?
Are the sides equal?
We call that congruent sides. Remember, congruent means equal. So we use congruent sides and angles to help. That's one. Ying, can you name another attribute that we use besides congruent sides and angles? Ying, if you can hear me, you are muted. Besides congruent sides and angles, can you remember another one we use?
No, I'm still thinking.
Say it one. I couldn't hear you.
I'm still thinking.
Okay. Asil, do you want to help her out?
Parallel sides.
Yeah, we use parallel sides. What are parallel sides, Asil?
Sides that are.
So, like these top two sides up here, this top and bottom side on that rectangle, those are parallel. What's that mean?
Means that they're equal.
No, they're equal. Congruent means equal. Those two sides are congruent, but what does parallel mean? Can somebody help her out by what do we mean when we say parallel? You are right. We use parallel sides, but what does that truly mean? Christian, what does that mean when we say parallel sides?
They never touch.
Yeah, they would never touch. So if those two sides went on forever in both directions, it's like the sides of railroad tracks. They would never touch each other. They would go forever. There's one more thing, and it's a certain type of side that helps create a 90-degree angle. Do you guys remember what we call those sides that form 90-degree angles? If you can remember, our hand signal for it is this. You remember what kind of sides we call those that make 90-degree angles? Corbin, was your hand up or were you stretching?
Yeah.
Okay, Clay, I saw your hand go up. Do you remember what those are?
Angles that are exactly 90 degrees are called right angles.
Yeah, so they're right angles. Do you remember what kind of sides create right angles? Christian, I saw your hand go up.
What was the question?
What kind of sides intersect to form 90-degree angles? What do we call those sides?
Right angles.
They make right angles. The sides are called perpendicular sides, right? So we use those perpendicular sides in right angles. We use parallel sides. We use congruent sides and angles. All of that to label those different quadrilaterals, okay? So we are going to watch a quick video about some types of quadrilaterals, and then we're going to come back together and discuss them, okay? So the song is a little crazy, but it actually has a lot of good stuff. So here it is. Maybe. It's not going to open really. There we go.
Hey guys, what's up? So I am super into this website right now. It's Generation Genius, and they cover all the science.
Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral. Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral. First, let's talk about rectangles. They can be narrow or wide. They always have four right angles and equal and opposite sides. Now let's all look over there. It's a shape with four equal sides. And I know that it must be a square because all of the angles are right. Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral. Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral. Don't call it a diamond, all its sides are the same. You're gonna like this quadrilateral, I promise. Its opposite sides are parallel and it has four equal sides, it's called a rhombus. Next up is the parallelogram, so listen up people. There are two sets of parallel sides and opposite sides are equal. Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral. Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral. There's just one more to talk about, and it's about to take flight. It's got adjacent congruent sides. This quadrilateral is called a kite. Trapezoid. 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 A trapezoid has two parallel sides, that's a trapezoid. A trapezoid has two parallel sides, that's a trapezoid. Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral. Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral. Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral. Quadrilateral, a shape that has four sides, a shape that has four sides is a quadrilateral.
All right. So there's a lot of different types of quadrilaterals, and we're going to talk about what specifically makes one quadrilateral one type and what makes it another type. All right. So give me just a second here. Maybe. Everything is being difficult for me. All right. So in here we have three different kinds. There's really three different kinds of quadrilaterals. All right. And we're going to talk about the most specific to the least specific, or the least specific to the most specific. So one of them is a trapezium. You can see those. Those are over here on the right. I'm going to make a little star or a number 1 by trapeziums. All right. Trapeziums have no parallel sides. There's really not anything special about them. They're just a quadrilateral with four sides and it's closed. So there's not, they could have equal sides, but probably not. There's no right angles and necessarily there is no parallel sides. It's just a four-sided quadrilateral. Next, the number 2 is over here. CJ, can you read the part in pink about what makes a trapezoid special?
One set of parallel sides.
Yep. It's got one set of parallel sides. So if you look at the top and bottom side right here on this trapezoid, there's one set. There's not two sets, right? These sides right here would cross over and they're not parallel, right? But the top and bottom side on that are, they have one set of parallel sides. There's also a special type of trapezoid at the bottom in orange. Cynthia, could you read about that? I'm putting a little star there right now.
Trapezoid with a right angle.
Yeah. A right trapezoid is a special kind of trapezoid that has a right angle. All right. So trapezoids, show me on your fingers. Everybody should be sitting up so they're not falling asleep. I see people laying down and stuff. Show me on your fingers how many sets of parallel sides does a trapezoid have? Very good. No, how many sets of parallel sides? Parallel. So sides that will never touch. If you need a hint, look at a seal. Derek, you need to zoom out so I can see, or you see what you're showing me on your fingers or something. I'm just looking at a Wi-Fi symbol right now. Okay, one. There's one set. I should have seen everyone doing that, not just the seal and Cynthia. There's one set of parallel sides on a trapezoid. Now, here's where we get tricky. We go over here to number 3, parallelograms. All right? It's important for you to understand everything in this is a parallelogram. So think of parallelograms like an umbrella, all right? So you have regular parallelograms, and then everything else below it, here's your little, like I'm drawing an umbrella, right? Everything below it that's a special one is still a parallelogram, okay? So Marvin, can you read that part in yellow? What makes a parallelogram a parallelogram?
2 sets of parallel sides.
Very good. So just like a trapezoid has one set, parallelograms, if you look, have 2 sets of parallel sides. So that means there's 1, there's 2. Every parallelogram has 2 sets of parallel sides. Show me on your fingers, how many sets of parallel sides does a parallelogram have? That's a hard word to say. Ugh. Show me on your fingers, how many sets of parallel sides does a parallelogram have? 2 sets of parallel sides, right? 2 sets. There's 4 sides, 2 sets of parallel sides. All right. Now we get to the most specific name. So rectangles, rhombuses, and squares. All 3 of those are still a parallelogram. All right. Rectangles, rhombus, and square. They're all parallelograms, but they're special ones. Corbin, can you read the part in light blue? What makes a rectangle a special parallelogram?
Has 4 angles.
It has 4 right angles. So if you look, it's still a parallelogram because the top angle and the bottom angle, or the top side and bottom side, are parallel, and so are these 2 sides. So it's still a parallelogram. However, a more specific name for it is a rectangle because it has 4 right angles. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Christian, can you read what makes a rhombus special?
4 equal sides.
It has 4 equal sides. So let me ask you a question, Christian. Is a rhombus, could I call that a parallelogram?
Yes.
Yeah, I could call it a parallelogram. But a rhombus is a better name for it because it still has 2 sets of parallel sides, 1 and 2 sets, right? But a rhombus is a better name for it. It's a more specific name because it has 4 equal sides, right? It has 4 equal sides. Then we get down to like what I like to call the king of all quadrilaterals, the square. Derek, can you read what it says about a square down at the bottom in orange?
Trapezoid.
Square.
Trapezoid.
Square.
Oh, 4 equal sides and 4 right angles.
Thank you, sir. A square has 4 sides and 4 angles. So, what's crazy about a square? Is a square a rectangle? Yes, because does it have 4 right angles? Rectangles have 4 right angles, right? A square has 4 right angles. So yes, a square is a rectangle, but it's a special one. Is a square a rhombus? Does it have 4 equal sides? Yes, it is a rhombus, but the best name for it is a square. Is a square a parallelogram? Does it have 2 sets of parallel sides? Yes. Okay. So it's kind of like, I think about it like my dog. Okay. So like if you have my dog at home, Rossi, it's like looking at it. I'm going to erase a lot of this stuff so I can kind of point at and point things out, right? Like the least specific thing you could say about him is you could say like, hang on, sorry, this is being difficult. Like if he was if you see a square, you could say like, oh look, there's a dog, right? So that's like the least specific thing. That's like a parallelogram. Like, oh look, there's a dog. Then you could say, oh look, there's a pit bull, right? Because he's a pit bull. That's like saying rectangle or rhombus because it's not just saying a dog, it's saying the actual type. Then you could say like, oh look, there's Rossi the pit bull. That's like saying a square because you're actually saying his specific name, and it's also covering, is he a dog or is he a pit bull, which is also a type of dog, right? So square's the best name for that, but if you saw that and you said that's a rectangle, that would count as correct because it is a rectangle. If you saw a square and you said, oh, that's a rhombus, you would be correct, right? Because it has all of those qualities. So here's where things get a little tricky. Let's look at this one, all right? This is where I want your whiteboards out. I want you to write down on your whiteboard. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and then I'm going to ask you to show me the whiteboard. This is for points. If you look at my camera, I have Post-its right here to write down the names of people who are not participating. Y'all, if you don't have a whiteboard, use paper and a pencil, okay? I want you to write down what is the most specific name for what you're looking at on the screen right now, all right? Ready? You got 30 seconds. Go. About 10 more seconds. All right, please go ahead and hold up your boards. Go ahead and hold up your boards or paper. Where it's tricky, we're going to talk about it. I see some answers that are correct. Alejandro, where's your writing? I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm going to take points away. You gotta have your camera on for this part.
What quadrilateral do you see?
I'm not done with mine.
Okay. So I saw this one, and this is the correct one. That is a rectangle. CJ, how do we know that's a rectangle? What specific attribute shows us that that's a rectangle?
Because it's not a square because it doesn't have all the same sides. We know it's a rectangle because it has the right and the left side are both the same, and the top and the bottom are both the same. And so we know that if the left side and the top side aren't the same, then it's not a square. So
Yeah. What else does it have? Going back to that chart, what defines a rectangle?
4 right angles.
That's 4 right angles, right? We can look at it. It has 2 sets of parallel sides, and it has 4 right angles. So now we go to my question at the bottom. I want you to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Can we call that shape that we're looking at, can we call that quadrilateral a square? Yes or no?
Okay.
Can we call it a square? Asil, you immediately gave me a thumbs down. All right, but I should see everybody. I didn't see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people tell me whether or not they thought that could be called a square. I saw a seal and I saw Christian and I saw Cynthia do it. A seal, you immediately said thumbs down. Why can we not call that rectangle a square?
Because a rectangle is different than a square.
Why? What makes a rectangle different? Why could that not be called a square?
Because a square, it's like,
What attribute, I'm gonna go back to that chart. What attribute does a square have that a rectangle doesn't?
or
You're right, 4 equal sides, right? That rectangle does not have 4 equal sides. So because it doesn't have 4 equal sides, it cannot be called a square. Could we call that rectangle a parallelogram? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Could we call it a parallelogram? Yes. Clay, why can we call that a parallelogram?
we can call that a parallelogram because it's even though all the sides aren't equal, there's two set of parallel sides.
Very good. There are still 2 sets of parallel sides. So is that rectangle a parallelogram? Yes. Is the most specific name parallelogram? No. We could do better by calling it a rectangle. But yes, it is a parallelogram. Just because of what Clay says, it has 2 sets of parallel sides. All right, here's another one. You've got 30 seconds to write down the best name for that quadrilateral. You have 30 seconds to write down the best name for that quadrilateral. All right, go ahead and hold up your whiteboards when you have that finished, please, or your papers. Christian, you can put yours down. Thank you. Clay, you can put yours down. Thank you. Marvin, thank you. Go ahead and put yours down. Go ahead and put yours down, Alejandro. Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Corbin. All right. Cynthia, you said square. Why did you say that was a square, Cynthia?
Because they have 4 right angles.
It has 4 right angles. There's one other piece that makes it a square. What is it?
Mm,
A rectangle has four right angles, but we said the last rectangle wasn't a square for a specific reason. So a square has 4 right angles and what else?
mm,
I'll go back to the chart, okay? A square has 4 right angles and what else does it have, Cynthia?
4 equal sides.
4 equal sides, right? All those sides are equal. So let's look at it. Is that quadrilateral? Could we call that square a parallelogram? Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Could we call it a parallelogram? Yes, right? It has 2 sets of parallel sides. Could we call it a rectangle? Thumbs up or thumbs down. Could we call it a rectangle? This is a tricky one. Tricky one. I have yeses and nos. So let's remember, to be a rectangle, it has to be a parallelogram with 4 right angles. Does that square have 4 right angles?
Yes, it does. Yes.
So is a square a rectangle? Yes. Is it a best name a rectangle? No, right? The best name is a square, but we could call it a rectangle because it does have 4 right angles. What about a rhombus? Could we call that square a rhombus if we wanted to? Thumbs up or thumbs down? We have mixed reviews again. Ooh, this one's tricky. I'm going to go back to our chart. What does a rhombus have? Anybody can unmute and tell me. What does a rhombus have?
4 equal sides.
4 equal sides.
Does this square have 4 equal sides?
Yes, it does.
Yes. So could we call that square a rhombus?
Yes.
Yes. Is the best name for that a rhombus?
No.
No, it's square, right? Well, we could call it, we could say, oh, that's a parallelogram, and that would be correct. We could say, oh, that's a rectangle, and that would be correct. We could say, oh, that's a rhombus, and that would be correct. But the best thing to say is, that's a square. All right? We're going to do one more quick activity before I send you off to do your work. Remember, going back to the beginning, we had 3 sets, a parallelogram, a trapezoid, or a trapezium, okay? I'm going to pick on one of these, and then I'm going to call somebody, and I want you to tell me where I should put this, a parallelogram, a trapezoid, or a trapezium. We're going to start with a seal. This one right here. Where? Uh-oh, wrong thing. Sorry. This one right here. Where should that go?
Parallelograms.
Very good. A seal. What kind of parallelogram was that?
A square.
Very good. DJ, this one. Where should it go?
Trapezoid.
Remember, trapezoids have a set of parallel sides.
Trapezium.
Trapezium, right? No parallel.
Trapezium.
Clay, this one. Where should this one go?
In what's it called again? Yes.
So
Put
parallelogram,
in that section.
trapezoid, or trapezium.
Parallelograms. I keep forgetting the name.
Does that have 2 sets of parallel sides? Are both sets of sides parallel?
No, so I'll call it a trapezoid.
Very good. It only has 1 set of parallel sides. 1 set of parallel sides means that that is a trapezoid. Cynthia, what about this one? Very good. What do we call that kind of parallelogram that I was just moving around?
Rectangle.
Marvin, what about this one? Marvin, what about this one?
Next to
Parallelogram, trapezoid, or trapezium?
Trapezium.
Very good. Nothing special. Corbin, parallelogram, trapezoid, or trapezium? Cut out. I think you said trapezoid. That's a trapezoid, right? It has 1 set of Alejandro. Next one. Where's this one go? Where's this go, Alejandro? Does it have parallel sides? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Does it have 1 set or 2 sets?
Two sets.
2 sets. So parallelogram. That one is nothing special. It's just a parallelogram. Christian, last one. Where's this one go?
Trapezoid.
Oh, this one's tricky because the way it looks. So, Christian, how many? Whoops. How many sets of parallel sides does this one have?
2.
2. Okay. So where does that go?
Parallelograms.
Give you a little clue. All right. It has no right angles, but all 4 sides are equal. You remember what it's called if all 4 sides are equal?
Bro, people are starting to hit Charlie.
Do you remember what it's called when it has all 4 sides equal with no right angles? I'm going to go back. Rhombus. Very good. All right. So you have 2 jobs today. I'm going to talk you through them very quickly. It's going to be just like the last couple of days. I'll be here to help and kind of monitor. I'll be looking at your work. I might respond to some of it as we're working. Okay. So you have 2 jobs.